Hello everyone. I'd like to make this video. The title of it is Orgonite, Concepts and Theory and Hypotheses. Okay, let's begin. I wrote down some terms for you in case you don't know any of them. Terms that you will come across or need to know before you build Orgonite. Scalar waves, Orgone energy. These are two variations of the same thing. Scalar waves are different than electromagnetic frequencies. Electromagnetic frequencies, like say, you can look this up on the internet. One part of it will oscillate, like say the electric part of it, and while the magnetic part of it will oscillate perpendicular to it as it moves through space and time. Scalar waves are longitudinal. They move like in a corkscrew, spiraling and fractaling all throughout the universe. Geometric shapes. Platonic solids is a fancy name for them, but I'm not sure if all platonic solids incorporate phi or phi ratios, Fibonacci sequence aspects into them. So geometric shapes incorporating Fibonacci ratios into them are said to attract Orgone energy. And Orgone energy, by the way, is a term coined by Wilhelm Reich. ORMUS is an acronym for, almost an acronym, orbitally rearranged monoatomic elements. And gemstones, particularly igneous rocks and metamorphic rocks, I believe have a high concentration of ORMUS in them. And these are metals that are broken down to individual atomic state, individual atoms. And M state is another term for them, I believe. And they somehow have a different resonate differently in within quantum field physics. Metal shavings. People love to use metal shavings in Orgonite, but of course I've seen what is passed off as Orgonite without metals in them. I wouldn't call it Orgonite, just more like a paperweight. But metal shavings, you could use brass, iron, titanium, aluminum, and I believe different shavings will affect the resonance signature of, at least that my hypothesis is, and other people believe this too, of different pieces of Orgonite. And I think this has been proven to a certain extent through Kirlian lithography. In Orgonite, the sum of its parts working together should create like a synergistic effect, where all the parts together work is all greater than the sum of its parts. A part of it, in each individual part. I mean, the 50-50 ratio. That's 50% organic and 50% inorganic. So you're going to use gemstones along with metal shavings. Gemstones are going to be your organic, and shavings are going to be your inorganic into your piece. And that is based upon the work of Wilhelm Reich and his Orgone accumulators that he attempted to use to cure people of cancer. And by the way, the FDA found out about his experiments and weren't very happy about it, so they decided to throw him in jail and burned all the books they could find from him. And he died, I believe, 2 weeks before his release. In Orgonite, you should use coils. My favorite coil at this time is the SBB coil. It looks like this. And that will throw the energy in one way, outward from your piece. Now, there are different types of coils. Casimir effect is produced, you're talking quantum field theory here, is in a vacuum when you have two plates, metal plates that are not touching each other. It's creating some kind of quantum field effect. And it is believed by some that the metal shavings, when they're suspended within the resin, will have, and assuming they're not touching each other, should create the Casimir effect within the Orgonite. Faraday cage is a term that you don't need to know, but it's useful information. Faraday cages, well-built ones, will stop electromagnetic frequencies from passing through them. Now, they will not stop scalar waves or Orgone energy. And this is based upon the work of Constantine Myle, as reported. I believe his last name is spelled M-Y-L-E. And go ahead and mark this time down in this video, because I'm going to move on in case you need to look at this again or skip over it. Okay, let's go with an example of an Orgonite pyramid, or the Great Pyramid of Giza maybe. By the way, I've seen some Orgonite shaped more like this. Here's an Orgonite mold. And so when people, make Orgonite, they'll keep this mold in this position, nice and level above a table. And what they'll do, typically, is place alternating layers of organic and inorganic material within it. Let that resin dry for each layer. Like say this might be the inorganic, organic, organic, organic. I have no problem doing it that way, but what I would do is, let's make this a different color, is place a crystal right down the middle. What a lot of people do is I'll wrap copper coil around it. And this is kind of crude. And this is just for the video, like so. And so what I believe the hypothesis is that these alternating layers will attract Orgone energy. And where's it going to go? It's going to go into the middle where it can escape, and it can escape or being filtered through the crystal in the middle. The organic material in the middle will take that stuff and maybe raise its vibration perhaps and send it upward, assuming there's nothing, no metals right here to stop that from happening, to deflect that energy, because I believe metals will deflect and direct Orgone energy. Okay, well, go back to this shape. Let's say this is the Great Pyramid of Giza. A lot of people think that the Great Pyramid of Giza only has 4 visible sides. Well, in actuality, it does not. It has 8 sides. Each side is offset about 1.5 degrees, right down the middle. And you can see this through aerial photos. And I believe this is an attempt, at least in my opinion, to stop what is called negative green from forming. Because when I made some pyramids with this mold, I held them like this and I was muscle testing them, and the muscle tested fine. When I held them like this and I muscle tested them again, they didn't come out. They didn't test positive to me. So I was researching the issue, and one website told me to take a permanent marker and mark, not the mold, but your finished product right here, right down the middle and the edge, all 4 sides. And I don't know if it was psychosomatic, but when I held the Orgonite this way and I retested it after I did that, it tested fine. Very interesting. Now, and how testable is this stuff? Here's an Orgonite tower buster. Is one thing that I like to do is take my razor blades, and people have been doing this for decades, and so I'm not the first one to discover this. Here's a little pyramid featured in my previous video. That will sharpen my razor blades. I'd say my razor blades will last around 5 times as long. Now, I am a scientist at heart, so I am willing to entertain other hypotheses to explain the effect in question. So one possibility is that you got to dry your razor blades soon, right after you use them. Another hypothesis is that the water that you use actually contains impurities such as minerals, and the minerals themselves will sharpen the blades. I don't think the first explanation adequately explains what goes on, what has been going on. In my opinion, it's definitely the scalar waves that are sharpening them. Here's another